Namaste yogis, welcome to your practice. This is Stephen from YogaWorks. What I would like to do together today is to do a forward folding practice and use a couple of blocks just to see how we can support ourselves a little bit better. This is often one of those poses where you see a huge difference between some people who are really naturally flexible, I'm not one of them, and then other people who are quite restricted in the whole back line of the body. Hamstrings are part of it, but it's not the only part, because you've got calves, you've got lower back, you've got spinal muscles, a whole lot of tissues working together to make these movements possible. So we'll see how we can use the blocks to support us a little bit better. It's a bit of a restorative practice. We're not going to move around like crazy, but at the same time it's slightly active in the nature of the poses we're going to be holding. I also like it at the end of the day, like now around sunset time, because it's a bit more introspective. You start to draw in on yourself and yeah, sort of withdraw a little bit from the outside world. So I hope it works for you. Grab a block. If you don't have a block, then you can still do this practice. You'll just have to modify. You might get like a big book or something to put under your hands, or other things to sit on or rest on, for example, a sturdy pillow, a rolled up yoga mat. A whole lot of things could still work. Good, so take the block and sit on your knees and place the block between your feet. Adjust it so that your sit bones can easily rest down on the block. And this is our first pose. It's called hero's pose. Sometimes without a block this is a little bit hard to achieve, and even here, if you feel a big stretch in the front of the thighs or too much pull on the knees, then definitely lift the block a little bit higher or sit on 2 blocks instead of 1. Good. So find your height that works for you and just become a little bit active. So I'm gently hugging the ankles and the heels into the side of the block. I'm gently pushing the front of the shins down, and you can rest your hands. Let the upper body be quite relaxed and open as the legs are grounding down with a bit of firmness. Nice. You can close your eyes and we'll just take 3 slower breaths together in this first pose. Exhale all the breath out. Inhale slow through the nose, take your time. Fill up from the bottom to the top. Build in a little pause at the top where you stay full but without tension. And then through the nose, exhale all the air out. Round 2. Slow inhale through the nose. Take your time. Notice how the upper body is filling up slowly with breath. Little pause at the top. Just suspend your breath for a little bit. And when it's time, let the breath go slow through the nose. You can just relax, let the air flow out. 1 more round. Slow inhale. Pause, stay full. Try not to tense up as you do this. And then through the nose, slow exhale all the way out to the bottom. Nice. Let your breath return to normal. And we're going to take the block. I'm going to turn sideways so you can see it a little bit better. I'm going to sit on the block. You might still be on your block from the previous pose. And just extend the legs out in front of you. First of all, this is nice. After hero pose, we're opening the backs of the knees again. And this is also one of those poses I'll just show you without block. What sometimes happens, or what I experienced when I started yoga, is that the back body is so tight that actually you end up leaning back and rounding your back. So when this happens to you, it's a really good idea to sit on a block. And even if you don't need to sit on a block, I would still recommend it to try it out for today and just experience something in a brand new way, perhaps. So you're sitting on the block. Drive your sit bones down equally on both sides. Sometimes one side feels a little bit lighter, the left or the right. Just check it out. And then extend your legs away from you, lift the kneecaps so your quads are on, lift the toes up and even curl them back towards your face, and activate the whole legs and feet, the whole lower body. And then lift the chest up, and hopefully you feel it's a little bit easier to sit straight up in the danda, which is the staff pose. And if you want, you can even use your hands down on the ground just to lift up a little bit extra to the spine. If you don't want to go into massive back bend here, just keep the spine quite neutral and stack the head easily at the top of the spine. Nice, this is a good start. And then we're going to hinge forward. Just feel that the torso comes closer to the thighs, but try not to round your back for now. So we're not doing spinal forward bend, but just doing more hip flexion, which means the angle between the legs and the torso is shortening, is getting smaller. And just hollow a little bit around your midsection, draw the front of the hips back, draw the belly a little bit back without overdoing it. And this will have the effect of lengthening your chest forward. You don't need to pull with your hands, just rest your hands wherever. You might be higher up, maybe this is it, how far you get without rounding your back, that's fine. Nice. So walk forward. This is how far we get without extra spinal flexion, which is the rounding of your back. And then add some spinal flexion. So now you can round gently, don't overdo it. Hang the head a little bit down. And imagine the crown of your head is trying to reach in front of the feet. It's trying to reach beyond the big toes. Nice. Couple of breaths. Especially on the exhale, you can hollow out a little bit more around your center and see if that gives you a little bit more space or length to reach forward. Good. One more breath here. Good. And slowly lift up. I'm going to turn sideways, but you can probably stay where you are. Open the legs wide to the sides. Nice. This is another pose where sometimes feels quite impossible to do if you have a bit of stronger hamstrings. Let's not say tight, that sounds so terrible, isn't it? Stronger hamstrings might prevent you from even just sitting comfortably in this pose. Again, when we lift up, we create a bit of a slope down through the legs, a bit of lift through the hips, and hopefully your spine can extend with a bit more ease up to the sky. Nice. So just sit here for a moment, just like we've done in that previous one. You can also use your hands as extra support. Try not to tense up the shoulders, try not to round the back. Just sit here for a moment. The legs are quite active. I'm extending out through the heels. I'm turning the toes a little bit back. So that's called dorsiflexing your ankles. And I'm lifting the kneecaps a little bit so that the backs of the legs get a little bit of extra stretch. Nice. You're perfectly welcome to stay here. This might be it. You might already feel enough stretch in the back of the legs and the inner thighs, the adductors. This pose is really good to address both. Or if you're like, no, I need a little bit more, then just walk a little bit forward with your hands. And again, try to keep the spine long, especially in the first part of the pose. We're not doing a big spinal flexion straight from the start. And just feel it. It might be a little bit, it might be a lot, and on some days it's just different than others. So accept what is available right now. It's a really good start. Otherwise you're struggling with yourself, isn't it? Your body doesn't like the feeling that you're fighting with it or wringing it into some shape that it's not ready for. I wouldn't recommend it. And then if it's appropriate, you can round your back a little bit more. Don't overdo it. You're not trying to touch your forehead down, so don't go crazy with this flexion. Keep a bit of length in the front and in the back, not just in the back. And then if it works, you can always place your elbows down or stay on the hands or put something underneath the forearms. Just find a way to support yourself so that it becomes both active and a little bit restorative. We're trying to combine these two elements in our practice today. You can still drive the heels down, you can still lift the kneecaps, keep the legs quite active, and then as we've done before, hollow the center to create the feeling of your spine lengthening forward. Good. One more breath here. Good, and then lift back up. Now bend the left heel under. I'm not mirroring you, so just figure out which is your left side and place your right foot over the knee, over the left knee. Let's wrap left elbow around the top knee. Interlace your hands, lift the chest and turn to the right. And again, we're still sitting on the block. I forgot to mention that. If you've got a block, try sit on it and feel how both sit bones are plugging down. You probably feel the one on the right tends to lift up a bit, but see if you can still create a bit of a heaviness in that right hip lowering down. And then turn your chest open to the right. Take a few breaths. Second part of this pose, you can stay here or you can transfer the elbow outside your knee. Right hand can go behind the base of the spine and see if that gives you a bit of a bigger twist. Good. And then unwind. You can briefly twist to the left if you want. Swap the legs so right heel goes under. Left foot outside the right knee. Let's wrap the right arm around left knee. Interlace your fingers. Lift the chest. Turn left. There's always one side where it feels much easier to turn to than the other. And I think this one is a bit more of a restricted side for me. And then notice, does your left sit bone want to lift up, become lighter? Try to even it out as best as you can. Use the block as a reference to put both sit bones firmly down on the surface underneath. Maybe if you want, transfer the elbow outside your knee, left hand behind you. Stay in the twist. Or if there's a bit more space, twist a little bit deeper. Often with that arm, you get a little bit more push. That's a good, my friend Chico, little doggy walking around in the garden. I don't know if you can see him. He might come to say hi later. Good. And then slowly unwind. You can twist to the right if you want. Good. Since we're sitting on the block, let's keep that. Place the feet, the heels, quite close to the block. Draw them a little bit in. And place your hands together, elbows inside your knees. Lift the chest. And this is a supported squat. We're sitting down on the block so we don't have to work so hard with the legs. And hopefully it gives you a bit more space to, if your squat is not coming very naturally, to feel the elements of the pose, the feet rooting down, the chest lifting up, a bit of work in the inner thighs and the hamstrings. The hamstrings are trying to close the gap behind the knees and the calves. Take a breath. Good. And then gently release. Grab your two blocks and place them towards the front of your mat. Nice. Step your right foot forward. Nice. We're going to come into a simple lunge. Often in lunges we don't use props, we just have our hands down. But for today, I'd like to invite you to play around with having the hands a little bit higher. So I'm using the highest height. There's also the medium one and the lower one. But it feels quite nice to be a little bit higher up. Nice. And then for the back foot, you can either untuck it on the top of the foot or tuck the toes under. Often I like the toes tucked under because it feels like I've got some extra push in that back foot. And then let the spine lengthen forward and up. Move your gaze forward, so try to align the neck so it's in a natural extension from the rest of the spine. It doesn't feel like you need to throw your head back or look all the way down. Keep the neck quite relaxed in these poses. One more breath here. And then start to draw your hips back until the left hip is stacked above left knee. You might need to wiggle that right foot a little bit forward. Use your blocks, you might need to bring them closer to support your hands. And then this is half Hanuman, Ardha Hanumanasana, where we pull the right hip back and we do our best to straighten the right knee. If we didn't have blocks, I would suggest you keep that right knee a little bit bent, especially if it feels really tight at the back of the leg. But since we have blocks, you can be much higher up with the torso. So see if that helps you to straighten the right leg. Pull the right hip back, and with the right heel, dig it a little bit down so you're anchored into that point. Nice. And just feel the spine long, the neck quite relaxed, and the blocks are helping us to be in a bit more of a relaxed, supported position. If you want to make this any more active and intense, you can just tip the pelvis a little bit forward so you're trying to stick the buttocks back. You won't see a lot of difference visually, but you'll feel the difference for sure internally. Nice, keep the breath calm. This always sends a signal to your nervous system that everything is all right. There's no emergency and the body can rest and let go of it. Good, let's swap sides. The right knee back, the left foot forward. Move your blocks so that your hands feel nice and supported. For me, in line with that left heel, feels quite good. Nice. And then settle in. You're quite active through the feet. I don't want you to just plonk down on the floor. And with the hips, can you soften down and forward, forward and down. Again, find the most relaxed position for your neck. Sometimes it helps to turn the head left and right to settle in the middle. Another test for your neck is if you can easily talk while you're doing the pose. If it sounds like this, then it's often a sign that you could probably relax your neck a little bit more. The yogis say if your face, your shoulders and the neck are relaxed, the whole body can relax. Good. Half Hanuman. Shift the left hip back until that right hip is stacked above right knee. Lift the foot, not the whole foot, but the front of the foot and the toes up, and curl the toes a little bit back towards your face. Adjust the blocks so that your hands feel supported. Lengthen the spine. Don't worry if your spine is really high up. You're not trying to get down to this leg. You're trying to support yourself and discover the pose in a different way. And then pull the left hip back. We're just doing a couple of minor activations. Press the left heel down. So you're anchoring the foot down. From there you're pulling left hip back. And then a nice length in the spine. Relax the neck. Soften your breath. We're going to do this in every pose today to create a bit of a restful experience, even though we're a little bit active in the stretches. Good. Release this. You can just bend the knee to come out. Let's swap sides again. Right foot forward. This time I'd like you to try out the high lunge. Not with the arms up, but I mean that the back knee is lifted off the mat. Now, let me just move the block so you can see. I'm stacking right knee above the right ankle. And then at the back foot, you might have to wiggle the toes a bit back so that left heel is also quite high and is above the base of the toes. And then use your blocks to support your hands if you have them. Otherwise, you'll be fine with the fingertips down. And then lengthen the spine forward and up, just in line with that back leg. Align the neck. Let the face relax as much as you can. So we're in an active pose, but then once we're in it, we're nice and supported, and we're trying to soften the breath and create a bit of a restful experience. Good, now we'll transition into pyramid pose. I like to step in a little bit closer and turn that back heel down for this one, and then still use the blocks on the highest setting, if you like, unless if you're really flexible and you need to be lower down to feel anything, that's fine, of course. So support yourself with the hands, draw that left hip back. Often not the left hip, the right hip. Often the right hip tends to be forward, and there's quite a difference between left and right. So draw right hip back. You might need to lengthen left hip a bit forward, and then lengthen the spine to the front. Think more forward than if you fall down. It's good, but it's not necessary. It's more of a byproduct. You've set yourself up in such a way that you're getting a really good benefits just by being here a little bit longer. And once you've reached your pose, soften the face, align your neck so it's quite content. You can breathe with ease. And just feel supported but active pose. This is called Parshvottanasana or pyramid pose. Good. And then swap legs. Left foot forward, right leg back. Doing the high lunge but without lifting the arms. Adjust your blocks. Stack left knee above left ankle. Wiggle the right toes a little bit back so your right heel is above the base of the toes. And then juice up your back leg, lift that quad and the hamstring up towards the sky. Now bend the left knee until it stops to the maximum. And then lengthen the spine and just sit in the pose for a little bit. Just sit in it. Remember, the word for asana is to take a seat. So you're sitting in this pose. There's an element of strength, you're a little bit active, you're resisting the floor away, but there's also an element of restfulness. And then step a little bit closer with your back foot. You can turn the heel down. There's always many options of these poses, so I'm just choosing the one that I enjoy the most for my practice today. If you have another preference, you can always do that. And then ground the feet down. Use the hands to take a little bit of weight off the legs. Pull the left hip back while keeping left foot nice and grounded. Move the right hip a little bit forward so it's like a little hugging action in the inner thighs, if you can find that. And then from there, lengthen your spine forward for this practice, or maybe for all the practices, who knows. Don't try to go deeper. You're nice and supported. I bet you feel a really good hamstring stretch. If you don't, then of course turn your blocks a little bit lower or make some changes. But if you feel something interesting, just stay with it. Don't try to visually look any different. Good. Slowly release. Nice. Now bring right foot forward again. I'd like to try do warrior 3 with the hands on the blocks. So place your hands a little bit forward. I'm saying try because I don't know how it's gonna go with this railing of my deck close to my face. But let's see. Lift the left leg behind you. Lift it up. Squeeze the inner thighs towards each other. Now often the left hip, it lifts a little bit too high. See if you can roll it down. And if you look back to your left foot, the toe should be pointing straight down and not to the side. And then right knee, you can bend it a little bit, that standing leg. Or if it works, you can push it to straight and keep your hands supported on the blocks. So often warrior 3, we're a little bit in a hurry, right? Because we don't have so much support from the hands, or any actually. So you have to work a little bit harder, but now your balance is not a problem. You've got 3 points of support, so you can check out the pose with a bit more calm presence. Good. Lower the left foot. Place it where the right was. Reach your right leg back. You can start with a bent left knee. You can always try to straighten it later. And then reach the right leg back. as your upper body reaches forward. You can always take a look, turn the right toes down, lower that right hip a little bit, squeeze inner thighs towards each other, and use your hands to support you. Nice. You'll have to draw the belly a little bit in to support yourself with your core strength. And then just breathe for 2, maybe 3 more rounds here. Calm, steady, supported warrior 3. Good. Slowly start to release your right leg down. And then open the legs wide. Turn the feet parallel to each other. Mostly I'm talking about the outer edges of the feet, so turn them to the short edge of the mat. And then keep your blocks handy. You can keep the blocks under your hands to create a bit of a flat back variation of the pose. This is one option. You can change the height of the blocks to give you the best experience. Or if you choose to fold forward a little bit more, then it could be really nice, especially if there's a bit of a gap between your head and the mat, to use 1 or 2 of the blocks as a bit of a head support here. Nice. I'm just going to use 1 and then walk the hands a bit back, so it's almost like chaturanga arms. You can traction the hands. If you imagine sliding them forward towards the toes or towards your head, then you'll be pulling yourself a little bit deeper into the pose. And just feel this nice supported wide-legged forward fold. It's got similar benefits to the headstand without being so hectic, because you don't have to lift your legs all the way up. There's not so much weight in the head. So this is a good supported inversion. Nice to calm down at the end of a day. Another breath or so in this pose, and then slowly come back out. Nice. We'll come to sitting. Good. Reach the legs out in front of you. You can choose legs a little bit apart, maybe hip distance, or balls of the feet touching. Nice. We'll use the block again, and then you might need to play around with different heights or even 2 blocks at a time. But what we're trying to do is rest the forehead on something as we're doing our forward folds. You might need to try different options. A block between the legs could work quite nicely. I'm going to put one on top, and sometimes if you stay in the pose for a little bit, you might be able to take a block away at some point. And then sometimes you have to move the blocks a bit further forward, because your spine has lengthened into the pose. So find a bit of a support for your head. You can also stack a few pillows on top of each other, which is quite nice. And then that support for the head just allows you to let go in the pose a little bit more. You don't have to hold your head up. Maybe your neck can relax more. Maybe the face can relax more. Your breath can soften. So rest down through the legs. Let the heels descend your calves, the backs of the thighs, your sit bones. And let the upper body also descend towards the legs. Your entire spine, the belly, let it just relax down. Your shoulders, let them just soften. And feel the weight of the head on the block. If you need to take a block away, you might have created a little bit more space. Your body might let you in a little bit more, that's fine. But don't feel like there's a goal to achieve by folding forward or not using any blocks. That's not the goal. The goal was to support yourself in a forward fold, create a bit of an active but mainly a restful experience, in this half-hour class. One more deeper breath. Exhale, slow. Good. Slowly lift up. You can place the blocks off to the side. Come into a comfortable seat. Nice. Place your palms together at the heart. Touch your hands to your forehead, to your heart center, and bow to yourself on the mat. Yogis, thank you so much for practicing. It's a pleasure to be here with you. Hopefully you feel nice and relaxed, but also a little bit stretched out in a nice way. And well done. Have a good one.